Joe, everybody. How you doing? We got a couple other bikers here. And a lot of birds flying above us. Hey, maybe those kids will be on motorcycles soon. You never know. I had to wait till I was in my 30s. I don't know if I had to wait till I was in my 30s, but I feel like it was a really good idea that I did. I was a little too aggressive when I was younger. I think having a motorcycle, I like to ride to the point where I get the heebie-jeebies usually, but I feel like there weren't nearly as many cops back when I was younger. You know, I drove pretty aggressively most of my life, and then you know, well, now there's, you know, the signs that flash and tell you how fast you're going, and put, you know, a speed trap behind every corner, so there's just no fun in it anymore. It's more anxiety inducing to ride fast around here. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. You can't get there from here, so let's move on to a different topic. Anyhow, well, last night my in-laws took me to a concert locally. So the town Norwood, Massachusetts has a small theater, and you know, I've known about Norwood for about 10 years, and but I never knew there was a theater there. And so I mean, I've passed the front of it several times, and I just figured it was like something that, you know, I thought it was closed. You know what I mean? It's built in 1927, which is not that old for around here, but it's old enough to have a lot of really cool details and characteristics. So anyway, my in-laws, my birthday's around this time of year, so they decided to take me and my wife to see an Eagles cover band. So now, Eagles, they've been on the radio since I was born. Yeah, I was born in 1974. I think they were on the radio. Yes, because, yeah, yes. I'm going to say yes. Since I was born. Before I was born. And, you know, I like a lot of their music. It's all familiar to me because it was all over the radio all the time. And, you know, you can say what you want about, what's up, guys? You can say what you want about, like, Don Henley and people like that who are, like, really, not with the times. You know, you've heard all about, like, you know, if you cover one of his songs or whatever, then the YouTube police come at you with armed guards, and, you know, it's just nutty. Some of these older folk are insane about their music and not letting anybody cover anything, and consequently, like, their music, you know, who cares? How in a few years, how's anybody going to hear that stuff when the generation that loved the band is all gone, right? No one's going to give a rip. So it reminds me of Smeagol, old Gollum there, clutching that ring, you know, my precious, don't let anybody touch it, and your pupils dilate and your teeth come out when somebody seems to, you know, so whatever, man. I mean, I on one hand I understand it, on the other hand it's like, get out of the way, man. Like, you're paying these lawyers how much money, and to protect your stuff, and so all that money's going to lawyers, and down and down and down, and people don't have an appreciation for your music that might otherwise have had some of their contemporaries been able to cover some of those really classic, amazing, and well-written songs. You know, nobody can cover it. I'm not going to play it in front of people. I don't want to get in trouble. So that song, you know, some of those songs can die for all I care. For all I care. And you could die too. Well, anyway, sorry, not an exact quote. Oh, let's go. I really don't have a lot of time today, so I gotta make this count. So let me tell you about the best of the Eagle. I'm just gonna go because who cares? I don't care. I'm riled up. Yeah, so the Best of the Eagles, they're from New Jersey. Oh, now come on. Before you get in a tizzy here, New Jersey, I'm gonna say this, and I would, if I was a younger man, I'd fight you on this. The best bagels I've ever had in my entire life were from New Jersey. Now, my college roommate was from New Jersey, and anytime we'd go down there, we'd get a big bag of bagels, all different flavors, and the best bagels I've had my entire life were from New Jersey. And you know, we got a couple of good bagel spots around here, and but man, I'm telling you, I'd put New Jersey bagels up against bagels just about anywhere in the world. So bagels come from there. And Bruce Springsteen, though he wrote many amazing songs about the working man and you know, blue collar living in hard times, but he admitted once he never stepped foot in a factory, which burst a lot of people's bubbles. But in spite of that, he is an absolute national treasure, and is a much better songwriter than people give him credit, because some of his popular songs are so catchy. So the Best of the Eagles is from New Jersey, and they were incredible. So let me tell you about the set real quick, and then I got to get home. But so the set started off a little slow, I would say, and it was like ballad, and I was starting to get a little nervous, you know, because the band hadn't really stretched its wings yet. Really, I was not intending a pun there. And so I was like, okay, it's going to be ballad night, you know, slow dance, and I'll be asleep in my chair by song 6. And but there's a few factors for that, I would say. So number one, you're in a new venue. They had never played in Massachusetts before, and so you know, you're in a new venue. You probably don't have an eternity to sound check and whatever. Now, when you're sound checking in an empty auditorium, and you get your levels really, really good in the empty auditorium, and there was not a seat empty. It was a sold-out show. So you go from sound checking in an empty auditorium, empty venue, empty cafeteria, empty gym, you name the venue, empty living room, pack it with people, and you've got to redo the soundboard. And so by the 4th or 5th song in, all of a sudden, you know, we were looking around at each other like, oh, okay, all right, here we go. And they just caught fire, and the rest of the night was spectacular. The other thing, it'll be harder, I guarantee, if they come back to Massachusetts. It's going to be much harder to get a ticket to their show, because after last night's show, I think everybody who went there, I mean, there was a lot of cotton balls, so there may not be, some of those people may not be around the next time they come around, but anybody who was there and still feels like going to concerts is gonna go see them again. So they're gonna pack out the hall again next time they come around, if they do, and they'll have the advantage of having already played in the venue, so setup will be easy, sound check will be easier, and so I'll tell. So one of the singers, they got a few lead singers, of course, because it's an Eagles cover band. So the guy at the drums, if you had your eyes closed, sounds like Don Henley, and he's dressed a little bit like Jaw Wobble, but could absolutely play the drums and keep time, and sounded like Don Henley. Had a really really nice voice, and so, you know, like I said, close your eyes, you're there. One of the main guitarists, was he the Glenn Frey of the band, perhaps? His vocals were a little low in the mix. I would have liked to hear those jacked a little bit. So I thought maybe if the bass player could double his vocals a little bit to bring him out, because he had a nice voice too. And where do I want to go from here? Where do we go from here? Let's do this. So we had Don Henley on the drums, aka not actually Don Henley. We had the Glenn Frey-ish type guy. I think it was the Glenn Frey-ish type guy. I'm getting my Eagles confused here. But he played, he had a Les Paul, a Gibson Les Paul. He had a, it looked like a Takamine 12-string acoustic. And so he was good. And then there was the other guitar player who, again, his guitar was low in the mix for the first half of the set. And then all of a sudden you could hear him. It was like, oh, gotcha, I know what he's doing. He played, he had a Tele, he had a Telecaster, and a white Telecaster it looked like. And was it, yeah, you know, I think he had a white Telecaster and a Sunburst Telecaster maybe. I can't remember exactly. And then, but he also played the lap steel, and really, really well. And then you had, we'll move over to Joe Walsh for a minute. The guy who played Joe Walsh's part, he had a Gibson SG. He had a Gibson, you know, the double neck, kind of like Jimmy Page had. The it's like, it looks like a SG, but it's got the 12-string on top and a 6-string on the bottom, which he played for Hotel California. Sounded great, and he had it looked like an Ibanez, you know, like your typical like rock, like metal guitar, like heavy metal guitar, you know, black paint job with some white and red accoutrements. And he sounded enough like Joe Walsh. I mean, Joe Walsh is like, he's like, you know, Papa Smurf sucking helium, his voice. And I mean that with affection. I like Joe Walsh's voice by now. This guy sounded enough of an approximation that you knew it was Joe Walsh. And his guitar playing was really spectacular. You know, he's just nailing it. And really clean, playing clean leads, and hitting all the iconic parts. But it looked like he was doing a little improvisation between the iconic parts, and as a musician, I appreciate that. I think you should do that, because you are not the Eagles, you're covering the Eagles, so please throw in your own seasonings, because you're just as important as they are, though not as famous, just as important. What do we have left? We have the bass player. And the bass player played, I think he had, was he playing a Lakeland? I don't know. I can't remember what bass he was playing. I was in the front row balcony. My favorite place to sit for a concert. The Orpheum in Boston, front row balcony. I shouldn't say this, because anyone who's watching here, just leave a couple seats for me, would you? Don't buy them up ahead of time. I'm paycheck to paycheck here. But front row balcony. So I couldn't quite see his bass. It was a 5-string from where I was looking. He was playing through an Ampeg. I don't know if it was an Ampeg head. Like I said, I was pretty far away. But he was a great bass player. He also hit all of the iconic parts. Timothy B. Schmidt doesn't look like much on bass. But then when you really look at what he's doing, there's some really clever and really nice, tasteful elements that if you don't notice he's doing it, but if you took him out of the song, you would know something wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? And the bass player was great. He was really, really good, and he also had a great voice. So he didn't have that high voice like Timothy B. Schmidt had, but he had a really nice voice as well. And he did Take It to the Limit. And by the time they hit Take It to the Limit, and you know, fans heard, oh, this guy can sing too. By the time they got to that, the fans were invested. And the rest of the show was great. I don't remember what song it was. The drummer screwed up on the lyrics to a song right at the beginning, and it was really funny. And you know, of course, a very forgiving crowd. And once that happened, the band hit a new level. Because I don't know if you've ever played live or had to do public speaking or do something in front of a bunch of people. Nerves and just general whatever it is will keep you at a lower level, but sometimes making a mistake can really supercharge you. I'm serious, and like, you play a flawless rest of the set after a mistake sometimes because you got it out of the way. You got nothing left to worry. I already made my mistake. You know, he's like, well, it's happened to me more than a couple of times. You almost wish it happens early on so that you have a great, you know, majority of the show. If it happens at the end, then you end on a high note, which is good. But, you know, anyway, so they had a great recovery from that. The other thing they recovered from, actually they didn't have to recover, they just rolled with it, was, yeah, it was a woman who was, we'll say overserved, to be polite, because she was a lady. And she thought it was a great idea to roll herself up onto the stage and stroll among the among the musicians, which is a no-no. And in some venues, you'd get your head cracked for that, or you'd get tossed out on your ear. And so you know, the security gentleman came up, handled it very well, just gave her a nice, like, one of these, and smiled, though. He did it smilingly, and not offensively in any way. What's up, dude? And that thing probably had more power than my, well, anyway, my lowrider kick's pretty good. But yeah, so it was a good way to escort someone off the stage, and they did not bounce her from the venue. They let her sort of rejoin her friends in the crowd, and she didn't go back up again. But I thought that was a really tasteful way of doing it. Then she went around and she high-fived the keyboard player. Listen, I can't remember who the keyboard player was. He was a great keyboard player, by the way. I failed to mention him earlier. But yeah, he looked a little bit like a young Saruman. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just saying that. Yeah, he had the beard and the long hair. And he was actually out when we were getting ready to line up for the show. He was out on his cell phone, sitting on a bench. And I looked at him and I was like, that guy's in the band, I know it. But he was on the phone, so I didn't say anything to him. And he's probably eternally grateful for that. But anyway, he's terrific. She went over, high-fived him, and he high-fived her. And then she went around, made the gamut, and people were really good about, you know, high fives. And the lead guitar guy in the front with the Les Paul, he went over, gave her a hug. It was just kind of like, you did something that was wrong, but you know, we love that you're here. We love that you're into the music. You know, you're actually helping us and helping the crowd with your enthusiasm. Don't ever do it again, make no mistake, but thank you for being here. And next time, a couple drinks fewer, and come up in the front row and dance in front of the stage, not on the stage. You know what I mean? Oh, it's very, very well handled. So that's a testament to the Best of the Eagles band, and also to Norwood Theater security for handling it the way they did. It was great. Very well done. I was a classroom teacher for a long time, and de-escalation is a super, super important concept. I absolutely, it should be. It probably is, but when you talk about bad policing and whatever, de-escalation goes a long way. If you've had a really bad classroom teacher,